very excited to welcome Brad Henshaw to my show. Brad is a contemporary singer-songwriter who's performed at many amazing and renowned music events, including MTV and Mobo Awards. He's worked with some real music legends in the biz, including Shirley Bassey, Slade, Blur and Sir Rod Stewart, who I saw on tour only a couple of weeks ago in Northampton. Hi, Brad, welcome.
Hi, Claire, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to have you join me today. Now, before we talk about your latest single, Lonestar, I'd just like to ask you where your love of music started. Where did it all begin?
Well, that's a good question, really. I suppose, really, my dad was a pianist. My dad played piano, and my mum was a singer. So I kind of grew up, really, from early days being in a pushchair, a pram. My dad was playing the piano, and my mum was a singer. And they had friends who all used to come around the house, and parties, they all sang, and they all, the uncles that played the accordion or played the guitar. So music was always in the house, and then I have memories of my dad playing in pubs and clubs around Birmingham. And I used to, sometimes be outside the pub with a bottle of fizzy drink.
Have your pop and crisps and watch your dad play.
You know what? That's exactly what it was like. Me and my brother. Yeah. And my dad would be playing on a Sunday afternoon sometimes. And, he'd be inside, then he'd be playing the piano. And,
isn't it brilliant? Are you just surrounded by music then at such a young age?
Yeah, it was. It was great, but it wasn't a romantic thing. My dad used to do it for money. Sometimes we used to go on holiday, and we'd book a holiday for a week, and then my dad would play piano when we were on holiday, and he'd earn enough money for us to stay another week.
Okay.
So I was from a working class background.
Yeah.
And my dad playing piano was a second income for him, and he never knew how to go professional about it all. He never knew how to turn professional. So music was a thing for him that he'd earned money. And as far back as he was concerned, when he was very, very young, he taught himself, and he played in a church, and he learned how to play hymns all by ear. And so he played everything. And at the church where he was born in Liverpool, and the vicar was, I suppose, a little bit embarrassed about him being so young. So he put a screen between him and the bride or whatever it was, baptism. He put a screen so they couldn't see him because he was so young.
Wow!
So because he was so young.
Yeah.
And my dad used to play on a very small chair so he could reach the pedals, and played the organ, and he earned money for doing that.
Extra money. That's interesting, isn't it? So did he teach you to play piano then?
He tried, but I was it never quite worked for me,
No.
And so, but my mum was a singer as well, and her mum was a singer, and so it was always around the house.
Yeah.
Music was always there.
Yeah.
And I always, as far back as I can remember, what I used to do, I used to write poems. I used to write little rhyming couplets in a little book. I had this little private book, and I used to write these poems. And I used to have this little book. I used to write stuff down, mostly for girls, I might add.
Yeah, well, romantic, isn't it? Yeah.
Kind of. I never used to give it to them, but I used to have these little poems just to write down. So I started writing in my own little way for that.
And in school, were you sort of recognised in school as being into your music and sort of lyric writing and that kind of thing?
Not till I kind of got to wanting to form a school band, a little band at school, and then wanted to be in the school band, and then performing at school with a band, and then after school getting in a band, and then it kind of started going from there,
Fantastic. And then fast forward a few years then, you've done some amazing things with some real iconic artists. So how did that kind of come about for you?
Well, I was in a fortunate position that I was working. I had bands at school, and then I was involved in a couple of local bands. But I had a job, and but I was in a fortunate position that UB40 and the Final Cannibals are from Birmingham, and I was with a bunch of lads in a band that was a cross pollination between the two. So the Final Cannibals and UB40, there was musicians in both those bands, and so I was messing around in both those bands as well. So that was one thing that was going on. So I had the great fortune of being able to go between both those bands. And so that was one thing that was happening. And so I was involved in that scene. And then I was working with a great Birmingham artist named Ruby Turner, who was a great singer from the Midlands as well. She's still around, works with Jules Holland a lot.
Yeah.
And I was spreading my talents a lot and doing lots of different things. And then I was working with a songwriter named Simon Darlow. He wrote "Slave to the Rhythm" for Grace Jones with another writer, and we needed a choir, and so we involved a London Community Gospel Choir, and we brought them into the studio, and afterwards, the choir master, a guy named Basil Mead, said to me, "Have you ever sang with a choir before? Because it's you singing lead vocals on that track." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I said, no, I'm a rock and roll singer. I've never worked with a choir." He said, "You should come and work with a choir." And I said, "But I'm not a church boy, I don't do that." And he said to me, "Well, it doesn't matter. You should come and do that." So he said, "Give me your number." So I gave him my number, and I never really thought any more about it. And then about 4 weeks later, I was walking around the laminate section of a very well-known Swedish furniture maker, and my phone rang, and it was this guy. It was Basil Mead, from London Community Gospel Choir, and he said to me, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm good." And he said, "What are you doing next Friday?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I want you to go to Dublin. You're going to be on the MTV Awards singing backing vocals for Whitney Houston and Sean Combs."
That's quite nice to find out in the furniture shop, isn't it?
Well, I couldn't believe it, and I thought it was a bit of a wind-up at first, but there was a week's rehearsals, and it was at the Point in Dublin, and that started this journey of working with some incredible stars via London Community Gospel Choir.
That's fantastic.
So that was amazing to work with, some incredible artists, and what a baptism of fire that was, So that's how that all came about.
And you're involved in theatre or production of theatre as well, aren't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're a professional musician, I'm a creative guy. I've discovered that about myself, and I finished a tour with Ruby Turner and came back to the Midlands, and I didn't have any work because it's a feast or famine kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any work, and a friend of mine came to me and said, "I've seen this ad in a publication, a weekly magazine thing, and it was an ad for a show called The Official Tribute to the Blues Brothers, which is a national touring theatre production." And I kind of dissed it, I kind of pushed it away, and I thought, it's not for me. I've never done theatre since school, and I really wasn't that interested in it. But I put it on top of the mantelpiece on the fire, and but as the day grew near, I didn't have anything else, and so I thought, well, I might as well go down for that, and it was in London. So I went along there, but when I got there, the queue for this thing was round the block. There was loads of people, and but eventually in the afternoon, I got seen. I sang a song, and David Pugh was the producer of that theatre show, who's now a very well-known theatre producer. He was then, and they asked me to come back. And so 10 auditions later, and a lot of money spent on train fare. They called me and said, "Would you come down again?" And I said, "No, I'm not coming again. It's cost me too much money. I'm not coming. This is ridiculous. You should have made your mind up by now." And they said to me, "No, you've got to come. You've got to come." And I said, "No, I'm not coming." And I put the phone down. I thought it was crazy. 10 auditions. If you don't know by now. And then David called me up. I hadn't met him in all the auditions. And he said, "Come to London. I'll pay all the money for you, refund all the money. we're just looking for someone we can't find anybody to go with you, a match to play the part of Elwood Blues. So I went to London. It was as good as his word. He paid me all the money back and found a guy to go alongside me to play my partner, Elwood Blues. And the next thing, we embarked on a 25-week tour of the UK, which the culmination of that was we went into the West End on a 3-month run at the Apollo on Shaftesbury Avenue. And that started this amazing theatre journey of my career. Local newspaper in Birmingham picked up on it and said almost a rags to riches tale, which was a complete lot of rubbish, because it wasn't rags to riches at all. I'd worked really hard for what I'd done. It hadn't come from nothing,
Yeah.
And then I toured, pretty much the whole of Europe with that for a good couple of years. And then in 2007, David decided not to do that show anymore. He moved on to different things. He was working with Daniel Radcliffe from Harry Potter, and I'd had the good fortune of writing bits and pieces for the script. He'd let me insert lines here and change this and change that. Like I said, I discovered that I was quite creative in that aspect, and so I took over the show and I took over my own work and I bought my own script and I bought the set. And so the production belonged to me. And then I'd done a tour in Holland and I had Columbia artists from Columbia Films in the US. They came to see the production in Holland and they invited me to go on tour in the US. So I'd done a 14-week tour of America, all points, north, south, east and west, all over the US. And I met with Judy Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, who licensed the show.
Yeah.
And then we had a residency in Chicago for 6 weeks. And I'm still good friends with Judy Belushi, John Belushi's widow, and Dan Aykroyd. I'm still good friends with him. And I'm going on tour again next year in Europe for 8 weeks, all over Europe and possibly into Asia.
Wow.
So I have.
So you do the theatrics, you do the theatre side of things, and I suppose it's that creative and artistic flair that you've got, that you can have that artistic freedom, do a little bit of that, and then of course you've got this other side. Well, actually, before we even talk about the country, I was listening to your rock symphonic, and I thought that was a pretty amazing project that you've done to rescore these popular iconic songs. I mean, I think it's amazing what you've done with those songs like Use Somebody and Dakota and Creep. But then you're singing to this amazing backdrop of the Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. It's really powerful, really beautiful.
Well, I really appreciate that. I mean, because we're going from like all points. I mean, that's the difficult thing about myself as an artist, because obviously people want to pigeonhole you. They want to put you in a box and they want to say that's what he is, that's what she is. And that's the difficult part about somebody like myself. The industry wants to just box you up and say that's what you are. And I'd never wanted to be that person. And that album came about just because I had some interest in wanting to work with an orchestra. And my writing compadre, John Dewsbury, he's got really good musical intention in terms of wanting to put string arrangements in things like that. And we had a good friend of ours who was the senior viola player with Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, and he played with the orchestra for years. He played under Simon Rattle, and so he came to the studio one day and he said, "Do you want me to put some viola down on a track?" And I said to him, "Oh yeah." His name's Eugene, and I said, "Yeah." And so let's do that then. And then I said to him, "Oh, it would be interesting, if we'd done a couple of cover versions for you to do that." And he said, "Well, why don't we involve some of the orchestra?" So
an idea was born.
That's when my juices started going.
Yeah.
So this was way back in like 2017. So I decided then to do a covers album, but instead of doing it just as it would be like a cover version, we wanted to, I wanted to reimagine the track and do it in a very different way, not just as it was, but just do it in a different way and do the tracks differently. And so that's what we did. And the interesting part about it is that obviously people do work with orchestras and stuff like that, but we've done the tracks differently. We approached them differently. They're not just as they were. We approached them differently. We slowed them down, sped them up. We took a lot of artistic kind of liberty, I suppose, in what we've done. But we did send them out to Radiohead's management, and we did send them out to various different people, thinking that they would kind of tell us, that's absolute rubbish, or you can't do that. Radiohead's management said, that is incredible. That's brilliant. That's really brilliant. And Kelly Jones from Stereophonics, right? Me and Kelly have the same music lawyer. Okay. And I sat with my music lawyer, the same with Kelly. And he rang him up and said, Kelly, have you heard this version by Brad, an unsigned artist? And he said, yeah, I have, yeah. And he said, can we get a statement from you that we could use in the marketing of this? And I won't tell you exactly the word that Kelly used, but he said, it's good. And that's the end of it. Bleep. So that was great. Yeah. But fast forward to just a couple of weeks ago, I heard Stuart Copeland from the Police say, he said that he's working with an orchestra now. And what he's doing, he's taking all the Police hits and he's reimagining them. He's not doing them the way they were. He's doing them in a very different way with an orchestra. And so I'm not saying he's copying me at all, but he's doing all the Police hits. He's decomposing them, doing them very differently with an orchestra.
Just makes it really interesting, doesn't it? It's a different sound, and it's a really powerful way to do it.
Yeah. And so I really like that I have that ability to be able to do those different things.
That's your creative juices are flowing. And why indeed put you in a box when you've got all these different talents and you can turn your hand to all these different sort of genres and styles. But let's talk about the now then. So you're kind of like, you're this country singer, I would say, these days then in the band.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm more of to be honest, more of an Americana singer, more of an Americana country singer,
crosses
because
over, doesn't it? And that kind of pop comes into it as well, I guess.
Yeah. See, the thing is, you see that if you don't mind, it's a bit controversial what I'm going to say, Claire. Most country artists in the I live in North Carolina in the US. I've lived there for 10 years, so I come backwards and forwards across the pond. Yeah, you know, I'm in a very fortunate position that I live in America. I've lived there for 10 years, but I also have studios here in the UK, and my writing partner lives here. So I come backwards and forwards. But unless you live in Nashville, you kind of, you're not really part of that family, you know, and it's very, very hard to get accepted by that. And a lot of British artists have found that out, you know. It's very hard to break that mafioso style family, you know.
Fair enough,
so it's very difficult to break that door down. The Shires have cracked it in a way. There's a few British artists are making inroads on that. Keezy Gill is one of them. That's the latest star to be shining and trying to do that. But it's very hard to do it because they've got enough of their own that want to do that. So a lot of British artists want to be over there.
Yeah.
Now
it's become really popular as well, hasn't it? A bit more mainstream. Almost.
It has. But you see, the problem being that in order to crack that side of things, we've got to create our own sound. Very much the way rock and roll came here from America in the late 50s. And what we did here then was we took that and we crafted it our own way and put it back over there. So it became the British rock and roll sound. Yeah. Right. And that's what we've got to do in order to export it back there. We've got to create our own thing. We've got to stop trying to be an American export back to America. We've got to create our own thing.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you. Yeah.
we got to have a British country, British Americana sound. Otherwise, it's just going to be a pale imitation of what they have there. So I'm a big believer in a British country, British Americana sound. Now, having said that, there are bands here that are doing it. There are bands trying to do that in their own way. They're not trying to be like an export of something that's already been. They've got their own unique sound.
Yeah.
There's one or two bands that have got it, and I'm trying to be, one of the kind of one of the kind of pioneers of that, and so that's where I am. I'm a contemporary Americana country singer. And
Contemporary Americana, I like that. And actually, I suppose with the sound and the vibe you've got, it's quite a positive, uplifting sort of sound, as opposed to if we think of country music, the original, that tends to be quite sort of negative, I suppose, with lyrics and that kind of sound.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit passé. I think it's not really so it's negative. It's just a bit passé, and it has a stereotype here of someone with a cowboy hat, a piece of straw sticking out the mouth, or it's an acoustic playing female lamenting about lost love, or it's just got some sort of like a stereotypical value to it.
Yeah.
But in Nashville now, there's R&B country, there's rock country, there's soul country. It's such and it's had to diversify, because if it doesn't, it will die. It's got to appeal to the young. It's got to appeal to different ethnic classes of people. It's got to broaden its horizon. It's got to be all sorts of things. And, country is the most popular music in America, but it's not here.
No, but it's getting more popular here. And this is how you're going to break through, I guess. Tell me about Lonestar.
Well, I lived in Texas for a while, and Texas is a law unto itself. It's a massive state. It's huge. And, there's the odd night I felt like, I was kind of like, one of those, just one of those guys being there in the middle of this huge kind of vast state.
Yeah.
The sky in Texas is quite unique. Sometimes you feel that the sky is all around you, and because it's quite flat, Texas, and the sky comes down to meet the horizon, and they call it the Lonestar State. And so I lived in San Antonio with my then girlfriend, who is now my wife. And we had some incredible times there, we really did. And so I wrote that just about being us in this huge state, and we were surviving. We were young. We had a great time, and the odd nights we were just pretty wild, and that was us. And so it came from that, really.
What came first, the lyrics or the music, the melody?
I think John came up with a riff, my friend John, but it was one of them ones. It just happened, and the best writers, not me, but they say that's how the good songs come, just like that,
like an outpouring, like a stream of consciousness, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it just happens, and you get the title, and everything flows from it like that. I'm not saying sometimes you work at a song and that still sounds great. I'm working on a tune at the moment, and it took me about 6 weeks to get to where I am with this tune, but I finally think I've cracked it. So
you've got to know when to stop. You've got to know when to say that's it, haven't you? And not overwork it.
Well, I don't know. Brian Wilson worked on Good Vibrations. He had about 25 versions of that song before he settled on where he was. And look at the way that was. So,
yeah, I suppose you've got to go away, come back with fresh eyes or fresh ears, I suppose. Yeah. And then then when you know, you know.
You do.
And you know.
Well, you hope you do.
Yeah.
You hope you do.
Hope other people then welcome it and appreciate it the way that you feel it inside. I love the lyrics on Lonestar. Just pick out a few. Keep on shining, shine your light. So to me, it's got this real positive message. It's quite uplifting. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Shows
is a
the
little bit of
fun,
that. And
when you were saying about the fun that you were having with your girlfriend, at the time, your wife now, I can see that now, I've got that sense.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and I think if you write a good metaphor, and people can find themselves in that, because I think, to be honest, Claire, we're all going through pretty harsh times at the moment, and it's hard, it's hard
Yeah,
for
it
a lot
is.
of people, and
Yeah.
if you can find a metaphor where people can buy into that, and see themselves in that, it's good. We had some TikTok videos done with that tune, and I was rather surprised because you never know what you're going to get out of the bag, with those TikTok videos. And one young girl done a video, and she was just putting her makeup on, and she was getting ready to go out of the night. And I thought it was quite cool, because she was just, yeah, she was a young girl,
Yeah.
and just putting her makeup on, and getting herself all ready to go out, and she's just feeling like a young star, just getting ready
Yeah.
to go out,
Yeah.
and it was quite cool. It's quite cool.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like the video for Lonestar. It's got all kinds of everything in it, like the vibe of your band all together, but then galloping horses and a mountain road, and a pretty
So
lady.
it's all
Yeah,
Texas, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all Texas.
yeah,
It's all Texas. Yeah,
yeah. That's great. Now you're in the charts as well, aren't you? In Mike Reed's Heritage Charts, and this week it looks
we
like you've
are.
climbed up 3 places. La 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 la!
Well, we did.
Congratulations! Yeah, from
Well, yeah.
16
Well,
to
yeah.
13 this week. So that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm delighted, and a big thank you to everybody who's voted for the song, because well, actually, we entered at 50. We entered at 50, and then we've moved up.
You're
Um,
climbing. You're climbing up
yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to catch my friend Daniel James, because he's up at number
Ah,
3. He's
yeah,
he's up at number
yes.
3. He's done
Oh,
incredibly well,
he's brilliant.
and
Yeah, I've had Daniel on the show before. He's a great guy, isn't he?
yeah, he's not. He's a really nice guy, and
Yeah,
so
legend.
he's at number 3. I'm trying to kick his ass, and get him off number 3, and get myself up there. So I'm going to pass you on the way down, Daniel. And so yeah,
It's all good, supportive, isn't it? But amongst
yeah,
yourselves.
of course it is. And
Yeah,
I've got Rick Astley and Cat Stevens behind me,
I know.
and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
You're way
So
ahead of them boys.
I know, I know, I know. It's all good fun though.
It is brilliant. So you've got live gigs coming up then. So next Friday, isn't it? You're playing at Jim Joe's.
Very close,
Jojo
very
Jim.
close, Claire.
Jojo Jim.
Very,
It's the
yeah,
Joe Jim. Jojo Jim.
it'll be very. Are you there? Oh, oh, um, yeah. Jojo Jim's it
Jojo
is.
Jim.
Jojo Jim's in Birmingham, and it's a great venue. It really is a super venue, and he's worked really hard at that. And he has some really good bands on. So Jojo Jim's, yeah, in Birmingham, 28th.
So
On
next
stage for
Friday,
8:30.
28th, 8:30 start. How do we get tickets for that?
Go to the website. Go to the website, or you can pay in the door.
Yeah,
And
so people can
still
come.
some tickets. Yes, there's some tickets left for that, but it's going quick, and we're quite popular. We played there before. We've done a big festival there in the summer, early part of the summer. So it's good. It's really going to be good.
And you've got other stuff as well coming up?
Yeah, we've got what have we got? Well, I might be going out to Coachella in September.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, might be going to California, and I'll be going back home to North Carolina early part of August. But I might be going to Coachella. I've been invited to do 3 acoustic shows in Coachella.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm hopeful of doing that, because when they do the 2 big events in Coachella in the town, the mayor has a little say in what goes on in the country event, and I've kind of been invited to do a little acoustic set there, and with him in attendance, and he has a say in the bands that appear at Coachella. And now what's happened is they've built a built venue there in Coachella, because the rest of the year nothing happens there after the two festivals,
Right.
and they want to have bands all year.
Yeah.
So
get something built
so
up that they can be coming each week to do a show.
that's exactly what they said.
Yeah.
So they've built a venue like the NEC.
Great. Get yourself a residency.
Yeah. So yeah, I might be going there around about 30th of September.
So you have all kinds of everything really planned, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And if I spun this around, I could show you my touring calendar for Blues Brothers next year, because we got about 10 weeks playing Switzerland, Germany, Monte Carlo.
Oh, so you're busy. You're so busy.
Well, you got to be, Claire. You got to be
international jet setter.
A little bit. But you've got to be. The music industry is. It's hard to earn money from records anymore. It's not the way it used to be.
No, I know.
So it's thanks to the public coming and supporting bands playing live.
Yeah.
It's thanks to people like you supporting us musicians, DJs like you out there pushing our music, getting people to come and see us live.
Yeah.
That's what is really important to us.
It's important. Live music is so important. It's for the soul, for well-being, for the people.
It is.
Yeah.
And, we've all been through it, COVID and everything else.
And everybody missed it. Everybody missed that artistic expression. And who did we go to when people were feeling down? It was for people to do online performances to cheer people up. It was that kind of thing, wasn't it? To try to tap into the creativity, the live music, the entertainment that they were so missing, that it was starved of.
Yeah, you're right. And songs and music. It's like it's such an integral part of your life. It's like a photograph album. Yeah. You hear a song and it takes you back to a period of your life.
Yeah.
It takes you back to that. And for me, like, if you go to somebody's house and you get the chance to look at a record collection, it's a story. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah. You can tell a lot about a person as well, from sort of the different music that they like.
Yeah.
The different artists that they've seen over the years.
Yeah, good or bad, it doesn't matter.
No.
The fun and the sadness, it does. It's really important that you have that journey, because it forms part of your life. And that's, partly I really dislike it when you see something on the news where they say, this band has got a combined age of the universe, and and they're too old, and they give, why should they be on stage? I dislike that.
You're never too old to rock and roll, Brad, are you?
No, you're not, and I think you're never too old. No. You're never too old to go and see the band that you love.
Absolutely.
If it makes you happy to see that band, it doesn't matter if that band come out on Zimmer frames. If that band makes you happy, you go and support them. Go and enjoy yourself, because we only pass this way once, Claire,
I know, I completely agree. It's been brilliant talking to you. How can we connect with you?
Facebook, all the usual
Insta,
socials.
Yeah, we just search for Brad Henshaw. We can connect with you. We can find out what you're up to. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got the website. I've got the website. It's under a bit of a reconstruct at the moment. Yeah. So I ask you a bit of patience with me. bradhenshaw.com. Yeah. And then come and see us if you can see us live. It'd be great to meet people. And I really appreciate your time, Claire. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome. Jojo Jim's Friday the 28th of July. That's in Birmingham. And Lonestar is out now. Fantastic single. Brad, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you. All the very best with all of your musical pursuits.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much.